Rich Clark, College Football Playoff Executive Director. And my goodness, it's a constant, thing about the playoff. It's like they haven't even gotten to 12 yet, which you will, and we're already discussing maybe what it's like afterwards. Your thought, first of all, taking over this opportunity, and do you see ways you can improve on it, and what are some of those ideas?
Well, first, thanks for having me, David. I appreciate that. I'll be honest, right now, there's a lot of ideas out there and a lot of things that are floating around. What we really need to do is make this playoff spectacular. And it needs to be where people are just like, holy mackerel. Never imagined it could be this good. And then go, now how do we make it better? How do we take it to the next level? Because, sometimes you can do things that mess up a good thing. Mm-hmm. And we don't want to do that. So the focus right now, make this playoff 2025 champ game and the playoff that leads into it, make it amazing.
One of the things that has been a problem in college football for a long time, and as a fan, I'm sure you know this, is that the fans say, we want this thing. And then the powers that be are like, no. And that, I think, created a lot of tension around the playoff in particular, especially when it was just 4 teams. Do you feel that with the 12-team playoff and looking at different ways to do it finally, that your office, that commissioners, that everybody is finally hearing, we need to serve our customers a little better?
Absolutely. And I think, to be honest, I don't know this because I wasn't in the discussions all the leading up to this, but I think the commissioners heard it and they realized we need to make a change here. But they have to think through it very methodically, and they did, because there's just things that, even me, the average fan doesn't understand about some of the inner workings and some of the drawbacks that might come from doing it a certain way. But I felt like they really thought through it well to come up with something good. And I will say, I believe, and just understanding where our commissioners' heads are, after the playoff is done, they will get feedback, and they're going to listen to it, and they're going to make decisions based on it. Not that they're going to do everything that they hear from the fan, but they're going to take that into account. They have to. Without fan support, where are we?
I'm not sure how much of a college football fan Lieutenant General Richard Clark was growing up, but I know for everybody who was a college football fan up until a few years ago, the idea of a playoff was just like, it's never going to happen. We're never going to get there. Not only are we there, it's expanding now. Could a younger you have foreseen this whole scenario, and it's obviously where we are now as a sport?
I could not have foreseen this as a younger me. And I'll tell you this, when I played football at the Air Force Academy, our senior year, we were 12-1. We were ranked number 8. We'd have been in the playoff.
Yeah.
We'd have been playing.
Yeah.
And there was nothing more than to have an opportunity to play for a national championship, because we were actually being considered for that, because we were, at one point, we were 11-0. And they were going, Air Force could be considered for the national championship. It was done differently back then. It was all, the voting and everything.
Right.
But if this was alive back then, as a student athlete, it would have been a total game changer. No pun intended, but it would have been amazing. Now that we're finally here, though, I think student athletes, fans, and everybody are going to get what they deserve. And have the opportunity to actually crown a true champion like other sports do.
Well, and they have it set up where 4 conference champions, and then group of 5, and then after that, let's just see what happens.
Can I say one thing? It's not actually
the 4 highest ranked.
Yeah, it's the 4 highest ranked
conference champions.
The 5 highest ranked conference champions. A group of 5 team, if we're going to use that term, could actually be the 3rd ranked champion. So it's the 5 highest ranked
there is
champions.
inclusion, and there's a chance. And so when everyone starts working out and practicing in August, there's a chance Air Force, Boise State, whoever, feel like they have a chance, when really in the last few years they don't. They know reality.
You hit the nail on the head. I got a shot. So you're saying there's a chance here. and that means everything. You can dream big, and you can strive and set your sights high. And that's what this gives.
Do you are these meetings that you've had, are they contentious? Are they how when the people debate over what should it be, how does it work through? Because there are people that are passionate about the way that they want things done, or that the way they envision it, and then coming to that middle ground and everything is the hard part, right? To figure out what you're really going to do.
Yeah, so the ones that I've seen and been involved in, I will say there are points of contention for sure, like in any other hard decision, right? But I do feel like people listen. People are able to put their ideas out on the table, and a lot of times the commissioners won't come to a decision, and they're okay to say, okay, let's table that. There's enough contention here that we need to put that on the table, think it through, war game it, whatever we got to do, but let's not rush to failure. Let's not rush to a bad decision. And so I've been very impressed with the way they go about their decision making. So collegial group, but there's bigger voices in the room, and just by personality or by just you stand where you sit, right? So but I've been very impressed with how they come to decisions.
So the format is set, and we know how teams will qualify and all of that. So what's the major conversation kind of revolve around for the playoff right now in terms of just getting ready for that, and kind of what do you guys now focus on now that that's all set?
Yeah, that's a great question. So one of the format is set. One of the big unknowns is the first round, right? Because we haven't done it. We've played the bowl games. The bowl games are brilliant at for the quarters and the semis. They're brilliant at operating a game. We've done a champ game. We've never done those campus games where seeds 5 through 8 are going to have the home team advantage there. So that I wouldn't say it's an unknown, but it's something that we want to make sure we get that right, and that we're lead turning that, and we're talking to all of the schools. There's 134 FBS teams, and we want all of them to know there's a chance that you could be hosting a game and be the home team. So we want to set some parameters right now so they can start thinking about things and understand what would be expected of them. And then as the season goes, that herd will narrow down, and then we can start focusing more on the more likely teams that would have to host a game.
Went off that on the home games, and I know you just said that the Bulls do a great job, but is there a world in which could be envisioned that more people want home games? Like those first 4 seeds aren't going to get a home game, and if I'm Michigan and I look at Ohio State getting a home game in the first round, I'll be like, well, I want some of that too.
Yeah.
And that expanding out, and then the Bowls being a kind of a different thing, and also asking fans not to be at a home site, which is easy for them to do, and to go to multiple sites that are away, that are third-party kind of things. Does that maybe morph into the future as you see how the host sites go early on?
Well, I'll say we shouldn't take anything off the table, right? And we have to evaluate and see how this goes. Our bowl partners are important to us, though, and this is just Rich talking. This is nobody else, but I'm a bit old school. I think the Bulls bring such a richness to college football. I love the idea of having the bowl partners involved in this, but we have to see how it goes and see how it evolves. But right now, I think we're in a pretty good place, and we found a pretty good balance with our bowl partners really putting on these spectacular games and preparing those first round host sites for what they might have coming.
Those home playoff games are going to be insane.
Yeah,
like those are. I think that's going to be the coolest thing.
Yeah,
I think that might be my. I mean, other than just the greater access, I think that might be my favorite new wrinkle is just knowing that. Oklahoma's hosting North Carolina or whoever in Norman to move on to the next. I just think that's going to be the coolest thing ever.
It's going to be great. It's going to kick us off, but we just want to make sure that every team is putting their best foot. Every institution, for the host site are putting their best foot forward, and that we're doing everything we can to help them to make it spectacular.
You're
right. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome.
As a lieutenant general in the Air Force and superintendent of the academy, how much of that military background can you bring, and how can you translate that into this playoff?
It's funny. Operations are operations, right? Whether it's military operations, game day operations, playoff operations, logistics are important. The kinds of things that weather, like the kinds of things that you think about in the military for deployed operations or whether you're conducting some kind of contingency plan, it's the same kinds of things that we think about. It's just a different concept, right? We're talking about an athletic event, not a combat event, But I find that the team at CFP, they think in a very military way about how there's a methodology to the things that they do. It's one step at a time. It's driving to a certain goal. And these things are familiar with me. And I'm not as familiar with the inner workings, We have experts in game ops. We have experts in sponsorship, experts in all the things that need to happen. But it's very methodical, and you have to take it that way. And so I'm finding a lot of similarities in the way that things are executed.
He was mentioned in the home sites. You mentioned that everybody has a chance, the 134 schools when the season begins. What do you react, or how do you react when you go, well, the SEC and the Big Ten are going to get everything? Because they're not going to get everything because they don't get all 12 spots. But is that even something that is on your radar that, well, they're going to get 8 of the or 7 of the 12 teams?
So what's on my radar is there's only 5 teams that we know are going to get a spot, and those are those 5 champions, right? They're going to get their spot. After that, it's at large, right? There's 7 other teams that are going to get in based on their performance throughout the season. So, people say, well, they're going to get it all. If they're as good as people think they are, then they will. If they're not, then they won't. So, I react that it's a pretty fair distribution right now, the way that it's done. The selection committee is very fair-minded about how they rack and stack the teams. And in the end, it's balanced to me.
It's Rich Clark again. He's now the executive director of the College Football Playoff. Congratulations on the opportunity. Love the military background as well. And thanks for your time. And good luck. Get the first one in, as you said. Let's see how it happens. And then take a deep breath, enjoy it, and see what else can be done afterwards. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you guys having me.
This is 365 Sports at Big 12 Media Days in Las Vegas.